Hello and welcome to episode 8 of Don't Touch the Beard, in which I video, document and then talk nonsense over the top of Guild Ball. Excellent. Remember to say it at the start this week. Brilliant. This week I will be playing my good friend John using the Steelforge 6 against his Masons. We are playing as ever down at Darksphere in Lambeth, just south of the river, the only reason to go south of the river. Now, there's been quite a major development in the world of Guild Ball since our last episode. No, not a Kiwi winning Australian Nationals, although that did hilariously happen. But rather, guild identity cards have been released, and we managed over here at the Beard Minis YouTube channel, managed to get hold of them a little earlier than they were announced so that we could have a game with them and release them forward to you, the handy viewer, such as you are. Now, although we got hold of them a little bit earlier, due to the length of time it takes to video, document, and then talk nonsense over the top of games of Guild Ball, brilliant, said it twice now, it's probably been 5 or so days since these were released, so hopefully you are nice and familiar with them. So me with my Blacksmiths, I elected to use the Passing of the Mantle upgrade, which allows me once per game during the maintenance phase to select a different friendly master that is on the pitch to be my captain, and this comes with a heal rate of 3. So for the purposes of this game, my healing from either Take a Breather or Come On Mate will be reduced by 1 from 4 to 3, but I do have the option at some point have the chance to change my captain. Even if the legendary player on one captain has already been used, I can switch it across the other. This seems like a very versatile tool in my arsenal. I'm very, very keen to give this a whirl. John in turn selected Build to Last for his Masons, meaning that whenever he uses defensive stance action, they gain +1 armor as well as +1 to defense. Now, of course, Masons have access to defend the ground via tower, where they can defensive stance for free. So this really ties in well if he takes tower in his 6, and it keeps that heal rate of 4. Now, we thought for the purposes of this game, rather than play a game and then discuss whether or not the cards would have any impact, we'd actually use them. What mind-boggling techniques of playtesting have we stumbled across here? The other huge development that we have this week is that Darksphere have been very kind and lent me a over-the-head camera mount so that we have a top-down view of this week's game. Do you like this? Is this something you prefer? Would you rather have the sort of 45-degree angled view from cameras that we're used to seeing on this channel? I genuinely can't make my mind up which I prefer. So, oh handy eagle-eyed viewers such as you are, please do let me know with comments down in the doobly-doo which you prefer, so I know how I should proceed going forward. So then, our lineups, I went with my Blacksmith, so of course it is at this stage just the Steelforge 6. John went with the newly errated Hammer as captain, Marble as his mascot, with Brink, Flint, Mallet and Tower rounding out his 6, and I unsurprisingly nominated Ferrite as my master captain, but of course, due to Passing the Mantle, this could well change throughout the course of the game. Hopefully it will change, otherwise I've entirely wasted that point of healing rate. Right then, allocations. Starting with the Masons. Hammer takes a big old 5, Marbles and Brick get nothing, Mallet gets 3, Tower gets 2, and Flint gets 1. So in turn, I put 2 on Anvil, 1 on Sledge, 1 on Furnace, 3 on Cinder, 4 on Ferrite, and 2 on Iron. And Ferrite has kicked the ball off up towards that obstacle towards the top of the pitch. Just quickly go through the terrain from top to bottom. That is fast ground, obstacle on the right, obstacle on the left, barrier at the bottom left, and rough ground right at the bottom. So Brick gets us underway, or Brink as I called him earlier, and he just jogs up the pitch with no other influence. Nice simple activation to start. This won't be a great surprise if you've watched me play Blacksmith before. I start with Iron, activate Impetus, and then sprints down my own back line, due to battering ram dodging anyone that he comes into contact with forward 2 inches. Go, go, go! And with a much simpler state of affairs, Marbles just goes and gets the ball. I like this, John actually concentrating on getting the ball, whereas I engage in what I begin to term the beardering ram, and so should you. Yes, do that, I'm telling you, do that. So after its woeful use last week, I thought I'd better actually get a decent activation out of tongue-in-cheek. So I activate Ferrite, activating her legendary, pulsing out tongue-in-cheek to all within 6 inches, which is, if I remember rightly, everyone in my team, giving them all +2/+2 move and the hobble ability. She then sprints to such a position where she can be countercharged by marbles but not by brick. So I am indeed countercharged by marbles. He is tax 7 versus 3s and 2s, 3 net hits. That is a momentous push. I then spend a point of influence to acrobatic back into engagement with marbles, and then start beating the monkey. So that is tack 5 versus 4s and 1s. Sadly, only 1 net hit, so I go for a momentous disarm. Woefully, I hit him again. Attack 5 versus 4s and 1s. 1 net hit. Whoa! Is a momentous weak point this time. So that was a thorough lack of tackling the ball off a monkey. Embarrassing Ferrite, frankly. Meanwhile, Tower tools up Hammer. Meanwhile, Tower jogs forwards and pops up Defend the Ground. Defend the Ground, of course, having much, much stronger value in this game due to the Guild Identity card that John is using. It's clearly the tooled up activations as Furnace goes next, tooling up Sledge and then jogging forward with his improved speed to the centre of the pitch. Lines of engagement beginning to take shape now, getting to get an understanding of where this game is going to be fought. Sprint flints himself forward. Anvil in turn jogs up the pitch and casts While the Iron is Hot. I choose my opponent's goal, and all of the blacksmiths within that 6-inch aura are dodged 2 inches towards the enemy goal. This took quite a lot of care to get the order right. It's one thing I'm learning with blacksmiths, and particular use of this ability post Beard Ring Ram is exactly how to do it. But I think I'm getting there. I like it. It's a handy little shuffle. Hammer activates and he steals 2 influence from Flint, who of his 3 only used 1 to sprint, activating Iron Fist and punishing March. So Hammer charges directly into Furnace, not Anvil. That would enable too many puns. So that is tack 11 versus 3s and 2s, 5 net hits, is a momentous 4 damage and a push. Hammer swings again, so that is tack 7 versus 3s and 2s, 3 net hits, is another momentous 4 damage and a push. So he is now being pushed into engagement range in Flint as well. So when Hammer takes his 3rd swing, he is now tack 8 versus 3s and 2s, 2 net hits. That is a momentous knockdown tackle. So flinging his now surfeit of momentum, John bonus times this attack. So it's tack 9 versus 2s and 2s, 3 net hits is another momentous 4 push. I activate Cinder, who uses Come On Mate on Furnace to remove the knockdown condition on him. I place this at a higher value than using a heal rate of 3. I'm not sure that was the right call. If you disagree or have any thoughts, please do leave a comment below the table. Now, due to being starting her activation rather within 6 inches of Furnace, she is kindled, and she then declares a charge against Hammer, who spends the point of momentum to defensive stance. So Cinder is tack 10 versus 4s and 2s of Hammer due to all his Waz. That is 1 net hit for a momentous dodge. Now this activation may seem a little bit of an odd one, but essentially I'm only really looking to momentum farm, hence Cinder having 3. She doesn't really get a lot else done in turn 1 for me unless she has the ball. Equally, I wanted to stress test his defensive tech against charges, and to do so, because he was outside of the defender ground, he'd have to spend momentum. So essentially, I'm spending influence to gain and steal momentum from my opponent. Sneaky, huh? It's almost like I've been thinking about this for quite a lot. Anyway, second attack, tack 6 versus 3s and 1s now. That is 4 net hits, momentous 2 damage, which is reduced by Tough Hide, burning from Burning Strike, and hobble from Tongue in Cheek. So damage being on fire and being slow. Mallet in turn has a bit of a sprint. I activate Sledge, who, due to being within 6 inches of Anvil and can use tutelage to activate, Pile Driver. Well, that was a strange collection of inflections. Sledge calmly jogs over to Hammer, says good morning, and pops him in the face with tax 7 versus 3s and 1s. That's 5 net hits, plus 3 from pile driver. It's a momentous 8 and a momentous 2 damage. Good morning! So that is the end of turn 1. The Blacksmiths win initiative, and I unsurprisingly elect to go first. So in going through my allocation, eagle-eyed handy viewer such as you are, it occurs to me that I have been over-allocating by 1 point of influence this entire match. So apologies to John for that. That's not really done. Sorry, mate. We'll have to replay this one and do it properly, because I've been cheating, apparently, which I'm not very happy about, as you can probably tell from the tone of my voice. So, that's what happened. So I gave Anvil 2, Sledge 3, Furnace 3, Cinder none, Ferrite 4 and Iron 1 in this activation, which is a total influence of 13 when my team should have an influence cap of 12. Sorry, John. Yeah, my bad. So John, in turn, does not cheat and gives none to Hammer, seeing as he only has 8 wounds left and is on fire. I think he suspects his death is imminent. None on marbles, 3 on brick, 4 on mallet, 3 on tower, and 3 on flint. Now I should have activated Furnace here, but I don't. Instead, I activate Sledge, who due to tutelage aura from Anvil will activate Pile Driver. So already engaged with Hammer, Sledge boops him on the snoozle. That is tax 7 versus 3s 1s. 4 net hits plus 3 is a momentous 7 damage, reduced by Tough Hide. I think that expression needs a comedy Swedish accent next time. I then spend a point of influence to activate Pile Driver once more. So Sledge once more faces off against Hammer and boops him on the snoozle, which he gets 6 net hits plus 3 from Pile Driver, is a momentous 7 damage, and I reactivate Pile Driver in case he needs it for counter-attacks later on in the turn. So whilst I'm now realising my folly and not activating Furnace first, that is at least points on the board. Hammer is down, that is 2 VP to the Blacksmiths against the Masons, nothing. Due to my own idiocy here, I forget to take momentum for the takeout, which I'd like to think goes some way of repaying the pain of cheating on influence in allocation, but it doesn't really. There's no excusing that. My bad. Oh, inevitable retribution, thy name is Mallet, and here he comes charging straight into Furnace, predictably. So with crowdouts from Brick and Flint, that is a whopping tack 11 versus the 3s and 2s of Furnace. That's 4 net hits, 3 damage, and Forceful Blow. Furnace already taking a whooping in turn 1 from the iron-fisted and tooled-up Hammer. Iron-fisted. So once more it comes around, that is tax 7 versus 3s and 2s of Furnace. 3 net hits is a further momentous 2 damage on poor old Furnace. So fair play to him. Furnace is still standing. Not for much longer, admittedly, but it has taken 4 influence to do this. That is tax 7 versus 3s and 2s. 5 net hits is momentous 2 damage, taking out Furnace. So very quickly, the scores are now all evening. Evening? It's not evening, it's morning. It's too early to speak, apparently. I need more coffee. Back in a minute. But it is 2-2 to the Blacksmiths and Masons, because they're the teams that are playing the game. So if it's 2-2, then they both have 2 points. Is everyone familiar with this terminology? Everyone's happy now? This is the parlance? Yes. Yes, we're not just making up words like beardring ram and boop him on the snoozle. We're also telling the truth. I should probably stop talking and go and get more coffee. Maybe less. I forget how it works with me. Anvil activates and uses his legendary play, Tested Metal, to give himself +1 tack. He is not captain. He could have been, but he isn't. That's worth thinking about, isn't it? He then jogs up right next to Tower with his brand new +1 tack. So not wishing to let his apprentice take all of the glory, Anvil meets Hammer and face with Towers. Arrange those words so they make sense. That is tax 7 versus 3 net hits. Sorry, tax 7 versus 3s and 2s. Good God. 1 net hit is enough for a momentous knockdown. Right, I'm back with coffee. Hopefully this will go better now. It's tax 7 versus 2s and 2s now that Tower is knocked down. 3 net hits, and I do a momentous while the iron is hot, dodging all who are within a 6-inch auras from the friendly Guildsmith Blacksmith team. Alright, more coffee needed apparently. I choose the opponent's goal and dodge those who can directly towards it. Tower activates in turn and forgoes his advance to pop right back up again. He tools himself up, making him a tool, as is traditional. He then smacks Anvil back in the face. That is tack 6 versus 2s and 3s. 2 net hits is a momentous push and a knockback. He has bonus time with this attack, and I have declared a counter attack, but both the knockback and the momentous push get tower well outside of Anvil's engagement, so there will be no retribution this time. Tower then pops down, defend the ground towards the centre of the pitch, seeing as it has such great synergy with his guild identity card, and John is having the foresight and wherewithal to actually use his guild identity card, unlike me. So over on the far side, I activate Ferrite and I spend a point of momentum to bonus time, so tack 6 versus 4s and 1s, 4 net hits is a tackle. Gimme the ball, monkey. With her newly acquired ball, Ferrite will acrobatic outside of Marble's engagement range and sprint into Brick's, so that because Brick is engaging her, he cannot countercharge her. So now less 1 dice due to Brick's engagement. That makes Ferrite's kick as good as Midas's, as I do enjoy saying. So that is a 3-8 kick. I don't bonus time it, but get the necessary for the goal. I then spend the point of momentum to run the length, hopefully getting Ferrite to safety. So Ferrite's goal brings the score to Blacksmith 6, Masons 2. The ball is kicked out and snaps directly to Flint. I'm sure that won't bite me in the arse whatsoever. Naturally, Flint, with his now newly acquired ball, where'd they go out of engagement from that centre of the scrum, jogs to within goal range, takes the shot and hammers it into the back of the post. So just like that, the scores are even once more. Loving the close nature of this game thus far. No matter what I am doing against the Masons, they have an answer in kind. I get a takeout, they get a takeout. I get a goal, they get a goal. I cheat with influence. Oh, wait, no. So yes, the scores are all even. I kick the ball out and I also play Huaya on Flint because curse him. So the kick out goes directly to Sledge and I elect to snap 2 despite the fact that he has been this turn, effectively killing the ball for this turn for me, as I have no way of getting the ball off him unlike other teams. I am, however, quite happy about that. He does have Power Driver up for counterattacks, so if anyone wants to come and try and take the ball off him, I'm reasonably pleased with about that. Come and have a go, as I believe much, much burlier men than me might say. So I activate Iron, who sprints forward and he battering rams Sledge, Cinder and Brick directly away from him. Just to be clear, this is a battering ram. The movement shenanigans at the beginning of a game is a beardering ram. I hope everyone understands this new addition to their lexicography. Brilliant? Cool. Lovely. I have no idea what the word lexicography means. More coffee. A Brick, in turn, punches him in the face. So that's tack 6 versus 2s and 2s. 2 net hits is a momentous 2 damage reduced by Tough Hide. So why punch someone in the face once when you can do it twice? Brick bonus times his second attack. That is tack 7 versus 2s and 2s. 2 net hits is a further momentous 2 damage, which is again reduced by Tough Hide. And the last of Brick's influence buys another attack. He is tack 6 versus 2s and 2s. 1 net hit, which due to Tough Hide is entirely negated, and then Brick knocks back Iron, which I'm waiting for the thing to pop up on the screen. There it is. In addition to any successful attack or character play, the target enemy model suffers a 1-inch push directly from this model, and they may make a follow-up dodge. Was this successful? I think it was, but I want to be absolutely clear. We both played it as it was at the time. But even though Brick has done damage, or he has got a damaging result, therefore he has been successful. Just because I then negate it doesn't make that unsuccessful. Have we got that right? Oh, handy viewers such as you are, please do leave a comment in the doobly-doo below. Masons win the initiative and elect to go first, and you can then also watch them allocate the correct amount of influence. So John puts 5 on the newly returned, but only 9 health points worth of hammer. 5 for him, none for marbles, 2 for brick, 2 for mallet, 2 for tower, 3 for flint. Now, at the time, John accidentally put 14 influence on the board before adding his goal influence, and I mocked him mercilessly for it. Oh, the irony. So I bring Furnish on at the bottom of the pitch and allocate him 3 influence. Cinder gets 1, Ferrite gets 3, Iron gets 3, Anvil gets 1, and Sledge gets 3, for a total of more than I should have. So Hammer activates and takes a point of influence from Brick to put up Iron Fist, which essentially means he sighs in excessive amount, complains despite being a billionaire, and just whinges at anyone that will listen, claiming, "You just don't understand the responsibilities of my position. I mean, you just don't understand I'm the immortal Iron Fist of Kunlun." It's awful. It's so bad. It's so bad. I don't understand how this got made. Defenders is alright, but I had to watch all of that nonsense just so that it made sense. And because I'm a completionist. Hammer attacks Iron. Attack 12 versus 2s and 2s, and the thing's disappeared off my screen, so I can no longer see it. Hang on. So 9 net hits, 5 damage, and a momentous tackle knockdown. I mean, the show's just bad. Right, task at hand. Tough Hide negates a point of Hammer's damage, but he swings again. Tack 9 versus 2s and 2s once more, but gaining a point of tack due to being knocked over. 6 net hits is 5 damage, which is again reduced by Tough Hide. More attacks. So again, Hammer is Tack 9 versus 2s and 2s. 4 net hits is a momentous 3 damage push, and again, Tough Hide comes into play. The unrelenting swings of the Hammer continue, so it's Tack 9 versus 2s and 2s. 3 net hits is a momentous 2 damage and a push. Once more, a point knocked off because of Tough Hide. So for the first time, the Masons go up on the scoreboard. It is now 6 to the Blacksmiths, 8 to the Masons, as things begin to swing in their favour with that iron takeout. Hammer then spends that point of momentum from the takeout to use Take a Breather on himself, healing him 4 HP, bringing him up to 13. So I declare a charge with Furnace against Flint, who braces for impact, who due to his guild identity card and brace for impact and charmed mail, I am Tack 10 versus 5s and 2s, and I get nothing at all. Right, now that's all his defensive take out of the way on, and his plot cards out of the way on the charge, I can get down to actually hitting him. Haha, sneaky Furnace. So that's Tack 6 versus 4s and 1s now. Is 4 net hits, removing the 4 hits from the Vengeance token, is 3 damage, a momentous 1 damage, and Searing Strike, giving him both burning and no armour for the rest of the turn. Oh, stop laughing. Mallet wanders over and attacks Sledge. So that will be a Tack 6 versus 4s and 1s as he bonus times the attack, but he gets no net hits. Second attack, he is Tack 5 now, because he hasn't bonus timed versus my 4s and 1s is 1 net hit, and he does a momentous singled out on Sledge. So although Mallet hasn't done a great deal to Sledge, he's certainly set him up for somebody else to go in and try and take that ball. I activate Sledge, who is now no longer engaged by Mallet, as Mallet's melee range drops back down to 2 inches. I unsnap the ball as a result, and it snaps directly to Ferret, and I take Sledge for a little jog. Sledge spends the first point of his 3 influence to activate Pile Driver and glares menacingly at Flint. Flint, however, glares rather salaciously back, and we see +1 defense for Flint due to Charmed Mail. Yes, salaciously, it's a word. So that is Tack 6 versus the 4s and 0s because of Searing Strike. Flint has no armour, so that is 4 net hits plus 3. From Pile Driver is a momentous 7 damage as he is booped in the schnoozle. Well, if there is one thing that all good Blacksmiths players know, and even the bad ones do as well, is that one good schnoozle booping deserves another. So that's Tack 6 versus 4s and 0s. 4 net hits this time is a momentous 2 damage, leaving Flint on but a scant single health point. Flint then activates and takes a breather, bringing him back up to 5 wounds. Damn you, Flint. He then where'd you go out of engagement with both Furnace and Sledge and goes and hides behind a wall. Damn him. So leaving the lads to take care of the takeouts, Ferrite has a bit of a jog, bonus times a shot, and hits a screamer, bringing the score now to 10-8. Anyone else notice that about the Blacksmiths? All the fellas do the hitting and the girls do the scoring. Not sure how I feel about that. I am, in all probability, grossly oversimplifying that situation, so I wouldn't read much into it. Ferrite runs the length with one of her handy-dandy new bits of momentum. The ball kicks out and it lands squarely between Anvil and Tower, and we roll off to see who gets possession. Now, at the time, we had a bit of a discussion amongst ourselves and decided that Football Legend didn't count for this role for Tower, despite the fact he's within that aura. But I'm not sure that that's the correct ruling. So, handy viewers such as you are, Please use your eagle-eyed abilities and do tell us, should Football Legend have counted for this role? Please do leave a comment below the table in the doobly-doo. So Anvil ends up with the ball. Tower, having none of this, activates and jogs up to him, declaring an attack. Anvil, in turn, declares a counter-attack. So that is tack 6 versus the 2s and 3s of Anvil. He has bonus time in the attack for 3 net hits. It is a momentous tackle and a knockback, pushing me directly away. This is phenomenal. I mean, this is a game-changing play. Or at least has the potential to be, depending on how the rest of the game goes. And actually, I realise that statement has a degree of redundancy in it. Anyway, Tower is so often seen as a tool-up and defend the ground bot, but to strip the ball and knock someone away and do this and get themselves free with still influence to do more with it, I think it's absolutely phenomenal. Tower has more uses than just tooled up and defend the ground, as this shows. So Tower passes in the general direction of Flint, having stripped the ball from Anvil, and Anvil not getting his counter-attack due to that knockback. I'm furious at this point, because essentially I'm up on 2 goals, and Anvil, had he have activated, could have knocked the fella down, sprinted towards the goal, and banged it in, and I would have won on an Anvil goal. Anyway, he passes to space. The space passing is successful, and he has the ability to re-roll the scatter. And that's exactly what he does. The first pass scatter goes pretty much in the middle of nowhere. The second one goes directly to Flint, which is naturally considerably more useful, and it's all of a sudden very, very threatening. I, in turn, play match fixing, forcing him to re-roll the scatter, which he does, and it scatters straight back to Flint. He rolls the exact same result that I've just forced him to re-roll. Denied his goal run and furious for it, although he only had the one influence, so he wouldn't have been able to do it anyway. Anvil wanders up and smacks Tower about the face with his big old hammer. So that is tack 6 versus 3s and 2s. 2 net hits is a momentous knockdown. Down you go, sunshine. Brick activates and takes himself a little jog so that he is engaging both Cinder and Ferrite, and then attacks Cinder. So that is tack 5 versus 3s and 1s. 3 net hits is a momentous knockdown on Cinder. So although Brick is engaging Ferrite, Ferrite is not engaging Brick. So we don't believe that crowds out. If we're wrong, please let us know in the doobly-doo. Cinder in turn stands back up in her activation and tacks Brick back. She is tack 5 versus 2s and 2s and gets nothing at all. Poor old Cinders. Marbell, for he has the ill communication, has himself a little jog. And that brings the turn to a close. Smiths win the initiative, and I, unsurprisingly, elect to go first because I want to see where his influence goes, and I don't want him to know where Iron is going to come back on. So essentially, at this point, if John had won initiative, I would bring Iron on at the top of the screen rather than as I do at the bottom. That being because Iron would be a very, very easy target for Flint to charge, bounce off, and hammer a goal in ending the game. So this initiative role was very, very important in my mind. So I give Iron 4, and that really in my mind is the only allocation that matters. But to round it out, I give Ferrite 2, Cinder 1, Sledge 3, and Anvil 3. John allocates 5 to Hammer, none to Marbles, 1 to Brick, 3 to Mallet, none to Tower, and of course 4 to Flint, because if I don't kill him, he has a very, very strong opportunity to score and end the game. So I activate Iron and put up Impetus, improving my speed, because without it, I'm not going to reach Flint. So that is tack 6 versus the 4s and 1s of Flint. I get 3 net hits and go with the knockdown result. I can't even remember if we scattered the ball at this point. I take another swing with Iron. That is tack 6 versus 3s and 1s now. 2 net hits is momentous 2 damage. Clearly we didn't scatter the ball. And then finally, tack 7 versus 3s and 1s. I've bonus timed the attack because I really need to make sure 4 net hits is a momentous 4 damage, taking out Flint. So that's it. 12-8 to the Blacksmiths against the Masons. A thoroughly enjoyable game full of charge and counter-charge. Thrust and riposte the whole way through it. Really enjoyed the sort of snapback nature of this game. I'm absolutely devastated that I screwed up my influence allocation the whole way through. I feel really bad about that, but a brilliant game nonetheless. John, always a pleasure to play you, chap. I look forward to the next one. Few things I want to discuss at the end of this episode. At the time of recording, it's currently the 13th of September when this episode comes out. Frankly, some good friends of ours in Florida are currently being battered by the natural disaster in the form of Hurricane Irma, and it looks from many weather reports that this is not the only hurricane that is going to strike those shores. Phil Bowen, who does Guild Ball Tonight, the very first Guild Ball podcast as far as I'm concerned, lives in that area, and I'm sure we all just wish him the very best, both him, his family, his loved ones, his co-workers, his neighbours, anyone that he comes into contact on a daily, weekly, or just any basis whatsoever, or just lives nearby. We wish you all the very best. We hope everything is going well with rebuilding efforts, and that whilst this awful event has happened, that everything is being done by governments, both federal and local, to help assist the people of Florida get over this. This is a ridiculous channel in which I talk nonsense, because nonsense talking and being daft is what makes me amused. This, however, is the very antithesis of that. This is the complete polar opposite, and our very much heartfelt wishes to the people of Florida, both Guild Ball related and not, that everything is going to be all right. Secondly, today's the 13th of September, and I'd like to wish happy birthday to Jay, who is a regular opponent on this channel. I hope you have a wonderful birthday, chap. I know you're working, as we so often do in grown-up life, but there we are. Happy birthday to you, a good friend of the channel and someone who's really helped get this channel up and running off the ground. Your infectious enthusiasm for Guild Ball and all other forms of nerdery are very much appreciated by my old, jaded, beardy husk of an existence. Lastly, something Guild Ball related. Guild Ball identity cards were, of course, play tested in this game, and I, for one, absolutely adore them as a concept. I think the Passing the Mantle one that I used is costly at 3, dropping me to a health rate of 3. I don't know if you noticed, but I didn't heal at all during the entirety of the game, just because that health rate of 3, all of a sudden momentum became prioritised elsewhere. I love the idea of changing captain during the maintenance phase for the Blacksmiths, and I don't think an opportunity presented itself for me to be able to do that. It's a phenomenal active ability. I'm a big believer in active versus passive abilities in all forms of wargaming, and this was a phenomenal example of something that's active but takes consideration to use. The Masons one I thought was phenomenal because it was an entirely passive benefit, although he had to activate it with defensive stance. Defensive stance was something that Masons do well and John does anyway, so that wasn't a great tax, and it kept the heal rate at 4, and it became something else I had to consider. You can't see it in this game, but we are playing on the clock, just because we've started playing on the clock as much as possible, although we are still learning the game. Because we want to just get into that muscle memory as it is part of the tournament scene, something I'm keen to go to in 2018. And it was much like Marbles and Bricks Countercharge Aura. The additional defensive stance became something that I had to take into consideration. It ate my clock, it ate my positioning. So all in all, I think that ability is incredibly strong. It's something that I was able to negate towards the end of the game. You may notice there's an awful lot of me jogging up and then hitting rather than charging in for the bonus dice. The one occasion where I very purposefully kind of telegraphed my charge was Furnace going into Flint, which also got Brace for Impact out, which was phenomenal as far as I was concerned, because that attack was a write-off. That influence was gone. Purely, I wanted to draw out the momentum, the defensive tech, and I got a plot card to boot. Do try these games out. There's been an awful lot of theory discussion on these cards, and I wholeheartedly support that, and I think that's a wonderful thing, and I've contributed to it on the forums with my own thoughts as a new player, which I think I think this is game 21 for me, so I still very much classify myself as a new player, and I'm sure you guys too, watching me play, do as well after watching me play. We've talked a lot about theory. Let's get some practice in as a community. Let's play these games. Let's report back on these games. Actually use them in the game rather than consideration of how they could have impacted past games. I don't think that's a particularly useful methodology. If you don't like them, stamping your feet and screaming I don't like them is never going to achieve anything. I've seen some fantastic contributions from members of the community laying out examples in sort of a detailed critique which is constructive as to why they don't use them. Crying that the sky is falling down is never going to help anyone. There we go, I'm off my soapbox now. If you don't like them, do something constructive about explaining why you don't like them and what you would rather see in their stead, if you would rather see anything in their stead whatsoever. That has been a rather long outro. Thank you very much for watching. These are, as ever, an absolute pleasure to produce. All of my games are played down in Darkshire, in Lambeth. And very quickly, my good friends over at Singled Out recently interviewed Jamie, friend of the channel, wow, I get to say that, Jamie Perkins, lead designer over at Steamforge, about the guild identity cards. I will put a link at the end of this video for you to go and listen to, should you wish. It is an entertaining discussion. So it remains only to say, if you would like to subscribe to this channel to be notified instantly as soon as I upload more of this nonsense, please do click on the beard in the middle of the screen. There is a link to playlists both for my Blacksmiths and this web series, the Don't Touch the Beard web series, either side of it, and below there will be a link to the Singled Out podcast with the interview on guild identity cards with Jamie Perkins. And as ever, handy viewers such as you are, I need a better outro.